So one day I was scrolling through YouTube and I came across this video with Buddha Blessed breaking down a bass technique that he used to make the beat for Make No Sense by NBA Youngboy. And I got really inspired and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try that technique. So I popped up Ableton and that's how I made this beat. So the first thing I knew I had to do was I had to come up with some sort of lead melody. So I pulled up this free vibraphone plugin that I downloaded for Contact, and I added a bunch of effects to it, and I came up with this melody first. And then after that, I just layered some simple chords underneath it. And then together. So if you listen to this vibraphone, it sounds really dinky on its own. Here's what it sounds like with no effect. Very bland, very boring, almost sounds like a toy from like a kid's shop or like a toy from Target, but you throw the effects on and it just sounds completely different and adds a lot more interest to it. So after that, I knew I had to add on some other counter melody, so I added these high bells. So it doesn't sound like much, but all these little simple melodies on top of each other, it really, really comes together nicely at the end. So I added one more synth sound, and it was from Serum, BA Tech Step FM, and here's what I laid down. So that was really just like another layer playing that main melody, but let's let you hear all these together now. So the technique that I got from that video that I really wanted to try to emulate or take something from for this video was he was using like a funk bass or like a retro synth bass and playing that in between the 808. So I didn't have the 808 in this play like completely in between, but they definitely like were playing off of each other. And that was what I was really inspired by in the video. So I had to dig around and find the right bass, but I found this bass right here from Omnisphere. And I came up with this pattern. So after I added that pattern, I went ahead and stacked the 808 underneath of it, and I came up with this main pattern that plays in lots of parts of the beat. So even though Buddha Blessed This Beat was having the 808 and the bass play off of each other, they never played on top. When I was making this pattern, even though that was the inspiration, that technique didn't completely make sense, so I ended up layering the bass on some of the 808 notes, but it would play off of a few, and that was still adding a little bit of the bounce that I liked from that technique he showed in the video. So here's what those sounded like on top of each other. I did have to EQ some of the bass out of the synth bass so that the 808 could punch through. So once I had those synths in there and I had the low end in there, I knew I needed to add some drums. So I added this kick first, this dope kick. And then I layered 3 snares and I came up with this kick and snare pattern. So after I added that simple pattern, I added this counter clap right here. And then I added these snares at the end of the 4-bar loop. And then I added these steady hi-hats. Then some rolls. And then I added these other counter hats just to add even more bounce. And then you put them all together and it sounds like this. So the last 2 elements I had to add to the beat were just this riser and this cymbal, and that was just to help transition between sections. So here's what the riser sounds like, and then here's what the cymbal sounds like. And then last but not least, you add the Austin Chapline on the beat tag, and that's how I made the beat.
Yeah, man, I met Austin Chaplin back in 2019. Going through beats, I found him on YouTube, and he made my biggest record to date called Not Real right here. And ever since then, we just been making classic records ever since. But this go around for What Does Love Get You, my new album, we tapped into a different sound. It's very trap style, but there's consciousness on the record. Austin was definitely curious to hear how it would sound on this beat. And I feel like we just went crazy. If you listen to Travis Scott's Only One with Metro Boomin, that's where we came up with the beginning of the hook, like, you know what? And we made a classic, man. Super proud of the record.
Ben had the remedy, divine masculinity. I need a drink like right now, with her skin tone is a glass of Hennessy.